Have you ever dreamed of having a balcony bursting with color all summer long, or a garden overflowing with blooms that attract butterflies, bees, and all sorts of hummingbirds? Well, guess what? That dream can be a reality. Summer annuals are the key. But perhaps you're wondering, how do I choose the right ones? Which ones will thrive in my climate or my soil type? And most importantly, how do we keep them blooming all season long? Don't worry, because in this video, we're going to answer all your questions and unlock the secrets to growing stunning summer flowers. So grab your gardening gloves, get ready to learn, and let's transform your space into a summer oasis. These are 9 steps that you can use as a homeowner to create beautiful summer flowers that are going to last all summer long. Hi, I'm Dr. Tom Warren, and you're watching The Plant Doctor. Let's get started. So the first tip in growing successful annuals is having the proper soil. You don't want to put your annuals in native soil, especially if you live in very clay soil area. So the media that I put my annuals in is a mix of peat, pine bark, and just a little bit of sand for drainage. So it's equal parts peat, pine bark, and then maybe 10 to 15% sand. And this does an excellent job for those roots of the annuals to be able to go deep down into this. This goes 6 to 9 inches deep. And so your annuals will do much, much better in a media like this, some mix of pine bark and peat, as opposed to native soils, especially if they're heavy in clay. The second tip is to have some sort of ground cover. Here I have longleaf pine straw. You can use some sort of bark mulch, whatever mulch is available in your area, use it. Longleaf pine's readily available where I am. I can also get pine bark nuggets as well. But mulch is going to do 2 things for you. The first thing it's going to do is going to help keep moisture down into that prepared soil mix that we talked about earlier. Also, it's going to help in weed suppression. If you don't have any type of mulch on top of the ground, you're constantly going to be picking weeds out of your annual bed. So put down a little bit of mulch, and it's going to help with moisture retention as well as weed suppression. The third tip is look at the amount of sun the area gets per day. This area is full shade, so we define full shade as 4 hours or less of direct sunlight per day. There's also part shade, which is 4 to 8 hours of sunlight, and then full sun, which is 4 or more hours of direct sunlight per day. Select annuals that are rated for whatever sun you have in your given area. So this is full shade, and so we have some coleus and we have some dragonwing begonias as well. This area gets some morning sun, about 3 hours of morning sun, and then again in the evening it's going to get an hour, maybe 2 hours of sunlight as the sun sets. And so this area here behind me is getting 4 to 5 hours of direct sunlight every day. So coleus and begonias is a perfect mix for this area. Tip number 4 is to put down a slow release fertilizer on the ground before you put your annuals in. I'm a fan of putting the fertilizer down before as opposed to after, because when you put the fertilizer down after, you run the risk of the fertilizer prills landing on the leaf material of your plant, and it can leave little spots on the leaves of the plant, and we don't want that. So we can eliminate that by putting our fertilizer down before we put our plants in the ground. Now, I prefer a slow release prill. This is a 120-day prill. This is Osmocote. And so Osmocote, they have a 90-day prill, they have a 120-day prill, but you want some sort of slow release fertilizer. This is not going to burn your plants, make them look real leggy. And I'm a big fan of Osmocote slow release. I'll leave a link down in the description below for this. It just does a great job for us. The next step is to place the annuals out before you put them in the ground. Go ahead, lay out the design that you want to do. Plant spacing is really important with annuals. Read on the label how big those plants are going to get. Are they going to get 1 foot wide, 2 foot wide, 3 foot wide? If they're going to get 1 foot wide, put your plants on 1 foot centers. That's what I've done here. These coleus, they're going to get about 18 inches wide. I want them to grow together so that it's just one big color mass. I don't want to see any mulch underneath the annuals. So I'm planting them about 2/3 of how big they're actually going to get. So what that's going to do is allow me to have a constant mat of color. We're not going to be able to see down through the annuals. It's just going to be color. No mulch is going to be seen. That's the goal that I try to achieve with my annual beds. But it's imperative that we lay it out beforehand and also read up on how wide these plants are going to get so we can get that proper effect. So once we have our annuals placed where we want them, the next thing to do is plant. And what I like to do, especially with these that come in a 6-pack, like these plants did here from Pax Nursery, I use a tool called a hoe-matic. And so all I do is I pick up an annual. That dirt's really soft. It's been amended a lot over the years. We pull that back, we stick our annual in, and we're done. Now, it's imperative that we plant at the right depth. You want your root ball to be level with the soil of the ground. You don't want to plant it too deep, you don't want to plant it too shallow. And so you'll get good at this as you do one. It's kind of like riding a bike. You may have to play with the annuals a little bit to get the depth right. But after you've done a few dozen of them, you can just pop them in the ground real quick. You can also use a hand spade if you have a hand spade. I like this because it's really fast. I just hit the ground one time, pull the dirt back, stick it in, and I'm done. One thing you need to be really aware of is the average frost date in your area. Here where I'm at in zone 8A, my average frost date is April the 11th. So what I like to do is I get to April the 11th, I look at the 10-day forecast, and if temperatures are trending upward, I'll go ahead and put out my annuals. If it looks like there's a cold front that's going to be coming through, I'll hold off a few days until after that cold front, and that's what happened this year. So today is April the 24th. I'm 13 days past my average frost date, but what happened 2 nights ago is we got down to 39 degrees. I saw this on the 10-day forecast. I'm going to hold off a few days on putting out my annuals, and I'm glad that I did. We did not have a frost here in my neighborhood, but just 30 miles up the road, they had a patchy, scattered frost 30 miles north of here. We were that close to having a frost just 2 nights ago. The forecast moving forward, highs in the 80s, lows in the 60s. We're not going to have another frost the rest of the year. We're going to roll into May, and being in the southeastern United States, it's about to get very warm, very hot, and these annuals are going to take off with the proper care. So you're probably thinking, well, Dr. Warren, I just saw you put these plants in the ground and they don't look all that great. And I'll be honest, right now they don't. But we are going to baby these things for about 2 weeks and they are going to pop. I like buying the 6-pack sales at the retail garden centers because you kind of get more bang for your buck. You're getting more plants per dollar as opposed to buying quarts or gallon plants or whatever. The downside is when you take them out of the packs, they kind of look a little leggy sometimes, and these look a little leggy, but they're going to grow out of that very fast. I'm okay with putting up with some leggy plants for about 2 weeks to save 10 or 20 bucks. To me, it's worth it. That's a personal preference. You may prefer buying the quarts where they're already filled out and look beautiful. I like to grow them out a little bit on my own. I feel accomplished when I do that. I'm a landscaper, a gardener. That's kind of my thing. So what do we do from here? Now that our plants are in the ground, we have them in the right soil, we've planted them at the right time of year, we've spaced them correctly, we've added that slow release fertilizer. What we need to do moving forward to be successful, we are going to water these right now every other day. As I get into July and August, we'll water them every day. And then I'm going to put them on a rotation of liquid Miracle Grow and bio-kelp. So we're going to alternate those every other week. So one Monday, I'm going to come out and water with Miracle Grow. The next Monday, I'm going to come out and water with bio-kelp. The Monday after that, Miracle Grow. The Monday after that, bio-kelp. And we're going to do that the whole summer. And that is going to make these annuals pop. In between the slow release and alternating between the Miracle Grow and the bio-kelp, these annuals are really going to like what we've done for them here. So Miracle Grow is kind of self-explanatory. It has all your macro and micronutrients in it. So we're getting a full complement of nutrients into the soil for the plants. The bio-kelp really doesn't do anything directly for the plants. There's not a whole lot of nutrition in bio-kelp, but what it does without getting into soil chemistry too much is it makes the nutrients more readily available for the roots for uptake. I started using bio-kelp about 4 or 5 years ago on annuals and vegetables, and I've seen a big difference in how big they get and how often they produce fruit. And I'm a big believer in using bio-kelp in those non-woody plants. So annuals and vegetables, bio-kelp is great. And that's it. So if you follow these tips, I promise you, you're going to be successful with growing annuals. Guys, as always, thank you for watching The Plant Doctor. And until next time, happy gardening.